Well, I really don't know about you, but if I had a business and I'm putting a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of resources into the business, I would want to cover my ass. I would want to cover my butt, right? I would want to cover my personal assets. So, in today's conversation, one thing I want to do is I want to speak to you about the top 10 key legal requirements for starting a small business so no one can mess with you. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you're to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, we want to have a clear idea of the top 10 key legal requirements for starting a small business so no one can mess with you. Even if you already have an established business, you still want to listen to this show because it will help you understand the kind of insights you need to better protect your business from a legal standpoint. This is very important because, listen, starting a new business is a challenging pursuit, no doubt about it, right? Part of what makes it so complicated is all the legal implications that come with starting a business. As a business owner, you want to make sure you have covered all of your legal bases to avoid any fines, lawsuits, or worst case, even jail time. Fortunately, there are plenty of legal resources available to small businesses both online and through hired legal counsel. We've done the work for you so you don't have to hire a lawyer and pay astronomical fees. So you just have to listen to today's show. There are only 10 requirements, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you have the whole idea of what you need to do to cover your business from a legal standpoint. Step number one, you need to get legit. This is so important. You need to designate the proper business entity. You need to find out what kind of business you want to have from a legal standpoint. Again, if you are, as we have said on other shows, if you are a sole proprietorship right now, if you're self-employed, you're a gig worker, whatever, I don't care if you are an Uber driver, you are a DoorDash, whatever it is, you need to incorporate. You need to transform that business into that side gig into a real business. And the best way to do this, just become a single member LLC, limited liability company. That way you are covering you are actually segregating your personal assets from your business's assets. All right, this is very important. Even if you started out as a sole proprietorship, you can still change, and it's straightforward and it's cheap. Okay, and after you do that, you need to get your employer identification number. Very simple as well. You just got to go on the IRS's website. It takes 5 minutes. You enter your info, your social security number, the company's information, and voila, you have it. And you also need to get a founder's agreement in writing. If you have co-founders in your business, it's important to understand it's important to understand that you need to have an agreement in writing. I don't care about any oral agreement. You know, your word is my bond. I don't care about that. I want something in writing. You need to have something in writing. If your business operates with multiple business owners, it's quintessential to make sure that each person knows and understands their rights and responsibilities in relation to the business. Okay, how this comes about depends on your business structure. If you form a corporation, you need a proper shareholder agreement and articles of incorporation. If you form an LLC, you will need articles of organization and an LLC operating agreement. You also need designated legal counsel to make sure the agreements and articles are sound. Okay, legal requirement number two. So legal requirement number one, you need to get legit. Legal requirement number two, you need to protect your business and its assets. So you need to hire competent legal counsel. Again, you don't have to spend a lot of money and pay astronomical fees. You have a pro bono services out there. You also have online legal services that actually allow you to get legal assistance. I think in exchange for a fee every month. So it's important, please, because if you have a startup, again, if you're putting all your cash, your energy, and your resources into a company, you want to cover all your bases. And a legal counsel, it's important, especially at the beginning of the company, right? So you can actually protect your business and its assets. And ideally, you will hire an experienced business attorney on employment law, contract law, securities law, and intellectual property law. Those are the four main sections of the law that you need to think about. Why am I saying unemployment? Employment law, contract law, securities law, and IP law. Okay, you could also hire a general counsel on your staff at some point, but it's common for the work to be spread out between different firms and attorneys, and the cost is worth avoiding any legal trouble. You need to protect your intellectual property, okay? IP is the bread and butter of many businesses. IP includes patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets as well. So be sure to file any patents as soon as possible, and this process can take more than 5 years. So please do this ASAP. You also, and this is number 3, legal requirements number 3, you want to obtain licenses, permits, and registrations. If you're trying to avoid any legal issue from a regulator or from a client or a supplier or whomever, you need to obtain the licenses, permits, and registrations that are customary in your industry. So depending on your type of business and where it's located, you might need specific business licenses and permits from your county, state, city, or municipality. And licenses, permits, and registrations come in many variations. For example, you have local business licenses, building permits, health safety related permits, permits for home-based businesses, fire permits, industry related permits, and liquor licenses, and more. The possibilities are many, so make sure you do a thorough research, perhaps with the help of your attorney, on what you need to be compliant with in terms of the laws in your area. Very important. Number 4, you need to comply with data regulations. Folks, this is so important. If you are trying to stay away from trouble, from legal trouble, you got to comply with data regulations, especially if you sell on the internet. If you are an online seller, you got to comply. Even if you don't have an online business, you probably have a website, or you probably have a Facebook page, or a Facebook page, or a YouTube channel, or a LinkedIn page, whatever it is. If you have some kind of digital presence, you need to comply with data regulations. Okay, you need to establish a privacy policy. So this is a legal document that actually specifies what your business does with the personal data collected from users or customers, along with how the data is processed and why. Violation of privacy laws can lead to criminal liability, depending on your state. So this can mean hefty fines. So it's really quintessential here, folks, that if you have a startup, you need to have the proper privacy policies in place and carefully adhere to them. All right. And you also need to follow email regulations. So email marketing is a huge part of many businesses, and I'm sure yours is no exception. So when you send emails to your customers, or when you're targeting potential customers via email campaigns, you need to find out what the applicable email regulations are. Note that each country has its own set of rules. So aspects covered by these rules generally include opt-in versus opt-out, B2B versus B2C email, so this is business to business or business to consumers. You have unsubscribes rules and a minimum information to be included in your emails. Number 5, legal requirements number 5, comply with financial reporting guidelines. So you need to do proper bookkeeping. If you're trying to actually prevent any kind of legal trouble, you want to have the proper bookkeeping in place. In most places, you are obligated to record all business transactions according to a specific accounting method. Okay, so you want to see what's required of you for your industry and location in terms of record keeping obligations, and you want to set up a proper filing and bookkeeping systems for all documents and transactions. This will greatly help you down the line in doing taxes, or if you ever run into other legal troubles. If you are in the United States, for example, there's something called US GAAP. So this is a United States generally accepted accounting principles. So this is a set of standards, a set of accounting standards that you need to abide by when you do your business accounting processes. And make sure you are paying proper business taxes. Important. Every business owner is legally required to pay taxes. Okay, folks, don't mess with this. This will just get you in jail. This will land you in jail if you really do if you mess up here. I would have told you. So pay attention to taxes. And what do I mean by taxes? I mean income tax, self-employment taxes, and for some businesses, sales tax. It's kind of wise to hire an accountant or tax advisor to make sure you are compliant with all tax laws, okay? And accounting software can also help you figure out when to file taxes and what forms you need to fill out. Okay, this is very important. The IRS has a pay-as-you-go tax schedule for businesses, requiring the owners to pay estimated taxes on a quarterly basis. So this is important. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Security Kiwi Show. I'm just having a convo with you today about the top 10 key legal requirements for starting and maintaining a small business so no one can mess with you. The key requirements number 6, you need to set something called a vesting schedule. You need to set a proper vesting schedule. What is that? Now, you need to create a vesting schedule for founders and early employees. This is a practical measure many startups often overlook when they're just starting out and excited about getting off the ground. But this will protect your business down the line and ensure a certain level of commitment each founder or early employee brings to the table. And creating a vested schedule upon incorporation states that stock ownership will vest over time, preventing investors from selling all their stock whenever they please. So note that most investors require this measure before they will make any initial investments. This is important. So when you think about vesting schedule, it just means that whatever stocks or whatever equity you allocated to early investors, founders, and early employees, that equity, that stock, that common stock will not be sold very soon. At least you sort of specify the schedule, the time frame, the time horizon over which that stock will be sold. And it's very important because for investors, especially for outside investors, if they see that the early founders or the founders or the early employees are selling their common stock, this could actually mean trouble. It means that they have no commitment to the company anymore. So why would I as an outside investor invest in your company if I see that you're jumping ship yourself? So you need to have a proper vesting schedule, and you need to classify your workers properly. That's the legal requirements number 7. Many startups often misclassify their early employees, so it's really quintessential here, folks, to know what kind of worker you are hiring. Essentially, the difference between, let's say, an independent contractor versus an employee. All right, this is an important element, an important criterion, especially for tax reasons, for both you and the employee, and will help clarify what is and is not expected from you and the employee. And if you misclassify an employee as an independent contractor, you could be on the hook for costly penalties and back wages. So please pay attention to that. Legal requirements number 8, folks. You want to purchase workers' compensation insurance. If your goal is to actually prevent any kind of legal trouble in your company, guess what? You need to purchase workers' compensation insurance. This is very important. In all states except Texas, most businesses with employees are legally required to purchase workers' compensation insurance. Check the word out, legally required, okay? Coverage should begin from the very first day your employee starts working, and this insurance covers medical and legal costs associated with work-related employee injuries and illnesses. So you are covering your employees. And state laws about workers' compensation vary, so make sure you check your state's rules. And requirements number 9, you want to comply with investment laws. If your goal again is to try to stay away from legal trouble, from lawsuits, all kinds of lawsuits or regulatory fines and audits, you want to comply with investment laws. Make sure you are in compliance with securities laws. So founders and investors of LLCs, C corporations, and partnerships are subject to federal and state securities laws. Okay, and these laws were made to require companies to provide reliable and accurate information about their businesses to enable a fair market. So the whole idea here is to make sure to actually prevent cheating. People, because some entrepreneurs might want to doctor up their data, their sales projections, just to attract investments. So the laws are very, very strict when it comes to lying on investment prospectus. So don't do that. And securities laws also protect from insider trading and trading fraud. So failure to comply with these laws can actually result in the startup having to repurchase all of its shares at the issuance price, even if the company has lost all of its money. And you want to make sure your investors are accredited. Okay, so the current definition of an accredited investor under the Securities and Exchange Commission rules includes 8 categories of investors, but the most general investor accreditation means that the person has at least $1 million in the bank, has at least $200,000 in annual income, and understand and is willing to take the investment risk. So the SEC has guidelines for what constitutes reasonable efforts on this account. So it's pretty possible, based on our research, to raise funds outside the narrow limitation of accredited investors, but it will open up a Pandora's box in terms of, say, securities and compliance enforcement. So this is something you have to think about. If you want to be the most legally sound investor and the most legally sound entrepreneur out there, you want to go through accredited investors. Legal requirements number 10, folks. You want to create a company handbook. This is so important. I cannot overemphasize it. Very important. Once you have all the legal headaches sorted out and sounded, make sure everyone in the company is aware and understands your company's legal liabilities just as well as you do. As a business owner, you could be liable for anything your employees do while representing your organization. Let me repeat that. This is so important. I'm going to repeat it. As a business owner, you could be liable for anything your employees do while representing your organization. So company or employee handbooks are a great way to instill the values and legal boundaries of your company. It can also help you establish what is and what is not appropriate behavior internally and externally. So have your legal counsel look this over well and even help you write it, and then get the company together to go over the material. All right. So I'm showing you right now on the screen here a snapshot of a company handbook. And this is courtesy of Business in a Box. So the source of this snapshot is Business in a Box. So it's important to understand that. So a well-written employee handbook should cover topics related to the following issues. So you have employment at will, anti-discrimination, harassment, compensation, benefits, leave, work schedule, standards of conduct, employee discipline, safety and security, equal employment opportunities, employee acknowledgement, and receipt of the handbook. So you want to really pay attention to that. You also want to pay attention to things like you want to get some background information, the number of employees. Here are some components of the handbook. Depending on your states, some may apply or may not apply. So, but you want to have a background information, number of employees. The employment status will also affect whether or not you want to share the company handbook with an employee. The payroll information. This is a section where you will specify employee compensation, how often employees will be paid, when each payday will fall, the methods of payments, your policy on pay advances. You also want to put in the company handbook your smoking policy, meal and rest breaks, benefits offered. Besides health insurance and workers' compensation insurance, most benefits are typically discretionary, and federal law requires employers with 50 or more employees to provide health insurance to full-time employees, and state laws may impose requirements on smaller employers. Likewise, workers' compensation insurance is typically required for all employers under their respective state laws unless they are very, very small or some other special exemption applies. Be sure to check your state laws if you think you may be exempt from providing these benefits. All right. And finally, I want to say that the policy will note that the company provides disability insurance in the following states: California, Hawaii, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island. So very important. You also want to mention in your company handbook performance reviews, how they're conducted, how often they will be conducted, as well as paid leave offered. Thank you so much, folks, for your attention. Today's conversation was pretty short, but we wanted to talk about the top 10 key legal requirements for starting a small business so no one can mess with you. Step number 1, or requirements number 1, get legit. Number 2, protect your business and its assets. Number 3, obtain licenses, permits, and registrations. Number 4, comply with data regulations. Number 5, comply with financial reporting guidelines. Number 6, set a proper vesting schedule. Number 7, you want to classify your workers properly. Number 8, you want to purchase workers' compensation insurance. Number 9, you want to comply with investment laws. Number 10, you want to create a company handbook. Thank you so much for your attention once again. I will see you next time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.